welcome. So glad to have you here. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that affects every woman eventually, yet it's still so misunderstood. It's about understanding what's happening beneath the surface and how we can work with our biology, not against it, through every stage of menopause. At the Beauty Doctrine, beauty is not superficial. If you've followed me for a while, you'll probably know that already. It's a reflection of your inner state. Your skin simply mirrors what's happening inside the body. And that's something that I dig really deep on. And I try to uncover and follow all the latest science that can help us be healthy from the inside out. So again, your skin is that mirror of not only your health, but also your hormone status, your diet, your stress, and your environment. Something most of us don't really realize is that the skin is a sponge. It absorbs everything that's around us and that we're putting on it. So we truly have to understand it and look at it holistically and understand all those things that impact it from the inside out and the outside in. So that's why I say beauty is health. When we support the body at its root, radiant skin becomes just a natural byproduct. A bit about my background. And so some of you probably have heard me talk about this many times, but this is for those of you that are new. If you're wondering, who is this person? Why is she talking to me about skincare or menopause? Well, I've been in the beauty industry now for 28 years. I'm double skincare certified, interfaced with thousands of consumers over the years, worked for so many brands, and have seen the good, the bad. And I've had my own experiences also with my skin, pretty bad ones. And actually, I'm super thankful for them. I'll talk about that a little bit later, because it's what truly helped me dig deep and really try to understand impacts on skin and try to heal my skin naturally. One of the biggest impacts on me, during my career, and that was way early. I'm 47 now. I worked for Dr. Perricone in my early 20s, and that was one of the best experiences that I could get. And so that helped me. It kind of put that link for me in my mind, between that connection between the inner health and outer beauty. And so I'm very thankful for that. And then my skin struggles, obviously, as I alluded to, at 26 years old. So having been in the beauty industry for so long, I had started at age 19. And so at age 26, I had been so spoiled using so many different products on my skin. I was doing a full face of makeup, you name it, I used to do it, contour, foundation, powder, primer, all of it. And so just piling all that stuff on, and traveling, because I used to travel from, mall to mall, from, state to state. I traveled all over. Anywhere there is a Nordstrom or a Saks or a Neiman's or a Sephora or Ulta, I've been. And so being around those environments, being within that environment, there's so much fragrance all the time. And then, of course, again, like being spoiled and applying all those products, just packing stuff on, got me to, develop a severe immune response. When I was 26 years old, my skin just said, I've had enough. So I became allergic to so many products. I'm still allergic to many ingredients. I can't use eyeshadow, for example, or eyeliner and many other products. And then I developed perioral dermatitis, and it was just a mess. And so I couldn't leave the house for a while. I went to the dermatologist, and it was the most surreal interaction. I think I was there for under 5 minutes. And he said, well, perioral dermatitis is just permanent. You need to be on long-term antibiotics. You need to be on, hydrocortisone. You need to be on Cetaphil, all these things. I was not willing to sacrifice health for beauty. I knew, at least at that point, I didn't know much about like Cetaphil and all that, but I knew if I was to put myself on antibiotics long-term, I'm going to destroy my gut health, and there's no going back from that. And so that's when I took it upon myself to really just start digging and trying to heal myself. And I relied on my face in my career. That's like, I've been in beauty my entire life. And so it was very important for me that I would resolve those issues. And so that kind of catapulted, my search into natural ingredients, into trying to follow the science and also blend all the things that I learned growing up. My background, I'm from Morocco. Originally, I grew up there. I graduated college there. And so I got to see there was just this huge kind of dichotomy. There's just a big difference between how Moroccan women age and their lifestyle and then how women age here. And when I moved here and I was working in beauty since day one, it was just a big difference seeing how much, like a lot of my my customers, my clients were spending thousands of dollars just pursuing all these, products and newest ingredients and trends and retinols, and they were struggling with skin. And I saw so many people with deeper wrinkles, with acne. Acne was not something I grew up with, growing up in Morocco. And so I got to see that. And to this day, my mom is in her 70s, she doesn't have wrinkles. A lot of women in my family and friends, they just don't have those struggles, and yet they're not getting lasers. Some of them have never heard of a retinol, some of them have never heard of a chemical peel, and they have phenomenal skin. And so all of that kind of together brought me to where I am today, trying to be the consumer's guide to better skin naturally, because I've seen it, I've lived it, and I've been a skincare expert here in the US, interacting with those consumers over 28 years. So that's what shaped my view. And of course, that experience that I had early on in my career with Dr. Perricone, that kind of informed me about that really very strong connection between what you put in your body and how your skin behaves. So these are just a few images for you guys. And again, I apologize to those that have attended every one of my webinars, because I've used this slide so many times, but this is kind of my past life. So just a few images. This is when I was executive director at Hourglass with my team over there. This was actually in Paris at a conference, resveratrol conference, with Dr. David Sinclair. So he's a world-renowned scientist, one of the top leaders in the longevity sphere. He runs a lab at Harvard. I follow all of his work. He's also a professor currently at Harvard University, doing research on longevity. This was probably in 2013. He looks now much better than he looked at that time. So it's amazing that now science has taught us, and now it's been proven that you can actually reverse aging. You can age backwards if you just apply certain lifestyle practices. And that's something that I'm super passionate about, and I'm trying to bring to you, whether it's through my website, thebeautydoctrine.com, or my YouTube channel, and obviously on TikTok. So I spoke on many stages over the years, and one of my last projects was working on Scarlett Johansson's brand, The Outset. So I did their education. So that's a big part of my career, in addition to working at corporate offices, working on marketing or sales, or you name it, I've done it. But a big part of my career was education. So I would create education curriculums, and that's what I've done for her brand. So the Sephora team members, the education they get on the brand, that's something that was developed by me. Okay, so my philosophy, I created the functional beauty principles. And so what they are, it's basically, the idea that your best skin is achieved when you work with it, not against it. And again, this comes from just my background being, growing up in Morocco and seeing how women have phenomenal skin without being super aggressive. And then coming here and seeing the opposite. I would talk to some of my clients and they're like, oh no, I don't need this, or I don't need a moisturizer, or whatever. I'm working with a dermatologist. And one thing that always kind of just bothered me, it's like, our skin is not sick. We don't need to be going to the dermatologist just to care for our skin naturally. So dermatologists can definitely help us with major skin diseases and so on. Treatments, every single treatment that you get in an office has side effects. So it's really important that you understand the side effects. And there are far, far better and easier ways to treat your skin and to age beautifully without attacking your skin. That's truly how I think of it. It's attacking the skin with aggressive treatments, retinoids, peels. There's absolutely no need for that. There's a place for it, but it's not the way that it's being used or even understood in beauty today. So the functional beauty principles are based on functional medicine, which takes the approach of understanding the root cause, not just slapping that Band-Aid on the symptom. And it relies, it leans heavily on epigenetics. So now we know there was a very big study that found, I think it's out of the University of Boston, that our genes don't play as big a role as we thought. So initially we used to blame our parents for whatever it is, you know, it's like, oh, I get gray hair. My mom had gray hair early. I'm going to get it early, whatever, or diseases and such. No. So our genes now, it's been proven that you can turn on or off certain switches. So you can have susceptibility to age a certain way. So let's say premature graying. So if you know, everybody in your ancestors had, you know, gray hair at 25, you may not have gray hair at 25. You could probably have gray hair later on at 50 or 60. And so that's if, you know, you can activate or deactivate those genes based on your lifestyle. So next is nutrigenomics, and that's very much related to epigenetics. And that's really just the relationship between, you know, nutrients and your how they impact your skin and your body. And so there's so much that we can change just by meeting our nutritional requirements. So next is ingredient compatibility with human skin. And I see this so much in the beauty industry, you guys. There is the two schools of thought. So there is the school of thought where, you know, it's all about pharmaceutical, cosmeceutical brands, you know, all these fancy brands, whatever, that say they focus so much on like active ingredients and all these like powerful synthetics and lab-derived ingredients. So like you see it a lot of times with like K-beauty, you know, with all the sunscreens, PA++, all this stuff. And then the other school of thought in beauty where it's like 100% natural. It's got to be organic and so on, and that's better. Neither is right or wrong. What I look at is actually ingredient compatibility with human skin. There are certain synthetics that are great for you, certain synthetics that are bad. Same thing with natural. And you probably have heard me talk about natural ingredients that are awful for your skin. They can be great for the body. Citrus is one of them. I love citrus. I consume citrus every day. It's rich in vitamin C. It helps detoxify. It's phenomenal and it tastes good, but it is going to wreak havoc on your skin topically if you apply it, whether it's in a skincare product or you do in your DIY and so on. And so that's what I focused on as I developed the functional beauty principles and curated products and, you know, created so many different resources on thebeautydoctrine.com, is to ensure ingredient compatibility with human skin, regardless of the source of the ingredient. I just look at ingredients that are not going to make your skin sensitized, because I see this so much. So many people are just spending so much money and causing sensitivity in the skin, unknowingly, of course. So it's about, you know, the ingredients not being sensitizing, as well as, of course, ingredients that are going to be nourishing to your skin, improve it, firm it, without having to layer too many products. Because that's another thing where I'm trying to correct this idea that you need 10, 20 products to have great skin. You don't need 10, 20 products. You need 5 products every day. And so they're very targeted products. And that's what I call the TBD method of application. So it's the beauty doctrine method of application. It's just your cleanser, your hydrator, a couple serums, and your protector, which is your sunscreen. If you do that, if you pick the right products that have ingredients that are compatible with your skin, that are not adding carcinogens, hormonal disruptors, irritants, fragrance, all those things, you are good to go. Take that money that you have left over and invest it in good food, organic food, in your supplements and so on. And so the idea here also is to strengthen the barrier layer, which I've seen just having spent 28 years in the beauty industry, is that, again, people that are, you know, that truly try to get their skin better and firmer and bleach their pigmentation and so on, those are the ones that end up with compromised lipid barrier. The skin can only handle so much. So when you're layering products, just understand you're not just layering the active ingredients, you also layer in all these preservatives and emulsifiers and added chemicals that don't necessarily benefit the skin, they benefit the formula. A lot of them are necessary to preserve that formula, especially if you layer in a lot of water-based products. And they basically, every time you're applying that preservative, which is generally their harsher alcohols, you're digging at that lipid barrier. And the lipid barrier is made up of fat. It's supposed to be there to protect your skin, but unfortunately, you start breaking it down over time, and that's why you become sensitive. I think that's why I became extremely sensitive at 26 years old, and I'm trying really hard to prevent that from happening for a lot of my clients. And then the other point, that's essential to functional beauty principles is getting the foundation right. And so by that, I mean, there's the huge focus on trends. So I try to connect the dots for everybody and help you understand that skin is an organ. It's not something sitting on the surface. It's not like this sweater. It's not like your hair. You can't just mess with it. You can't scratch it and bleach it and do all these things, or just throw in everything at it. Like all these new trends, like, we hear of snail mucin, and there were all these late trends, like let's say castor oil and whatever. And there's just so much good marketing out there. And so people are just falling for that because they're always looking for that magic wand. And I'm here to tell you, and I think I'm hated for this, and there's no magic wand. There's absolutely no magic wand. The skin needs exactly the same things your body needs. And our bodies need their protein, their hydration, their moisture, their antioxidants. The skin is an organ. It's as simple as that. So treat it the same way you would treat your other organs that you don't see. Those invisible organs that a lot of times we sacrifice the health of those organs just so we can superficially look better. And I'm here to tell you, you can do both. You can preserve your health while looking great if you go, again, with your skin, not against it. So now let's get to the topic of conversation today, or of this webinar, which is skin at menopause. And so menopause is one of those things, obviously every single woman arrives there. I think I'm perimenopausal. I'm 47. I'm sure, there is some hormonal decline that's happening. And so I've been doing so much digging, especially at 43, I experienced a massive decline in elasticity and so on. And so it's been my mission. It's been at the top of the list as far as research and try to figure out how to help women and myself kind of maintain that skin density, that firmness, that elasticity, and so on. And so there's a lot more to come on this, on my YouTube, in my YouTube videos. So the body obviously undergoes significant changes. Your moisturizer is no longer enough. It doesn't matter what serum you're using, your growth hormone serum, like stem cell, like none of that. It is not enough, because it's about understanding the structural, the structure of the body, because we age at a cellular level. And so the bone is aging, it's resorbing. The muscle, we're losing muscle, that's sarcopenia. We lose a lot of muscle at menopause. Fat pads are separating. Your fascia is getting stiff, which is that layer of fat that's under the skin. But a lot of focus is really just on skincare topically, or if you go to a dermatologist, the focus is just on the skin. And very, very often, what I see is that a lot of women sacrifice their very precious, fat pads, for example, very precious bone, just to get that like density and collagen, or to look plump, looking plump through Botox and fillers and stuff like that. And I understand that could be super tempting, but Botox or filler does not enhance your skin in any way. It's just, you're just being plumped up. Botox, it's freezing that muscle. So when you freeze the muscle, it loses ability to move. Hence, you start getting issues with bone resorption, muscle atrophy, all kinds of issues. So you're not doing yourself any favors. That's very just instant gratification with long-term side effects that you might not like 10, 20, 30 years from now. So again, it's about understanding aging at a cellular level and then how to address those changes. So I'll touch on a few things here, and there are so many more resources on my website. I continue to create, guides to help you guys, shop better for all the different, concerns, as well as courses, and then a curation of products to, help guide you to better choices. Okay, so the menopause, just a few highlights here about how menopause impacts skin. So the big obvious one that everybody knows is estrogen decline. Estrogen is the female hormone. It's the foundation of the female body. And so we get a massive decline leading up to menopause, and of course at menopause. And so that leads to thinner skin that's much drier with, loss of elasticity, which makes those wrinkles more noticeable. We get loss of collagen. You probably have heard me say this before. We lose about 1% collagen every year starting our 20s. But then you get to menopause and you lose 30%. So I'm like dreading this number. I hate this number. Every time I look at it, I'm like, yikes. So I'm doing everything I can to really not get there. And so 30% of your total collagen can be lost in the first 5 years of menopause. But again, I mean, good news. There's so much that you can do. That's why I'm having this webinar. And that's why I continue to talk about this stuff. There is so much that we can do to offset, to kind of like slow down that decline and really feed the skin what it needs to maintain that collagen and boost it. Okay, and then of course, reduced skin lipids. I just posted a video, I think about 3-4 days ago on YouTube about natural lipids. And this is something the beauty industry does not look at enough. In fact, my first 10-15 years in the beauty industry, there was this just fear, like literal fear of lipids, of fat. So people were looking for fat-free moisturizers, fat-free, not oil-free is what they call them, oil-free everything. And I still, occasionally I'll get a client that wants everything oil-free. And so there was this brainwashing that you just needed to like avoid oil because oil breaks you out. And that's of course not true. And so if you're still adopting that, that thought process that oils are bad for you or fat makes you fat, that is so not true. Please go and watch that video. It's the very last video that's been posted on YouTube, and it's eye-opening about fat and how important it is to maintain your cellular integrity. Every cell in our body is made up of fat. Our brains are made up of fat. If you want that elasticity, the skin elasticity, you want to moisturize so much, and yet the way that aging is addressed today is what? Retinoids, right? So every dermatologist, every single one you ever talk to, they're like, retinoids are the gold standard of beauty. And no, that's not the gold standard. That's as drying as it comes. You are drying up every structure within the skin and destroying that cell integrity. Yes, you're boosting that collagen production. That there's no refuting that. I get a lot of, hate on social media for saying, we don't want, we're not recommending prescription retinoids because they're drying. They're like, I just got a comment today, actually, oh, you don't even know what retinoids do. I'm like, I know what they do. They're going to boost your collagen. Absolutely. Yes. But at what cost? So there are so many ways that you can go around that. So it's just understanding vitamin A is fantastic. Well, let's get that vitamin A into the body to not just benefit the face, benefit your hair, benefit your neck, your chest, all of that. You can't be applying retinoids all over the body. When you take it internally, that can benefit you 100%. And of course, when you apply it topically at low doses, I'm just not a fan of those very powerful doses that cause lots of irritation and inflammation. And so we're kind of fixing one thing at the cost of another. So that's my view on retinoids. And of course, I much rather maintain the skin lipids because they're much harder to replenish versus dry my skin out with retinoids, because I know I can get that vitamin A. I can get an actual retinol or retinoid, but again, just much more gently into the skin and into the body. And then of course, increased sensitivity that comes with menopause. Why? Because of, just years and years of using skincare. Again, we need to think of skincare as not just the actives or the hydrators or the emollients, but also all those preservatives that kind of, irritate the skin over time and weaken it. But of course, our skin naturally gets thinner as we age also. So we have to protect that barrier layer. We have to try and strengthen it as much as possible. And it's about moisture. It's really not about just trying to exfoliate it endlessly. Hormonal acne, I've seen come back later in life, and that's just because of all those fluctuating hormones. And so that can trigger that adult acne. And a lot of times what a lot of people don't realize is just food sensitivities. As we age, we get those food sensitivities. So that's something, just a little hint there. If you're dealing with hormonal acne at perimenopause or menopause, just stop the dairy, stop the gluten, and most likely it will clear up. Dairy is a huge culprit just because of the quality of the dairy that's available on the market now. And then hyperpigmentation. So all of the damage that you've done in your early years, even in your teens and 20s, shows up in later in life, especially around menopause. So, products such as a high quality vitamin C, not ascorbic acid. We want something that's more gentle on the skin, good antioxidants internally and externally. So just really being consistent with that. And then sunscreen. I still, to this day, I do consultations very consistently and still talk. If I was to put a number on it or a percentage, I would say 40 to 50% of clients that I work with they still think that sunscreen is just for outside. Sunscreen is just going to prevent you from burning in the sun. That is not the case, especially if you use zinc sunscreen. It's one of the best things that you can do for your skin. It strengthens your lipid barrier. It's soothing, it's healing, it's protective, and also, you're going to help prevent that pigmentation from showing up later in life. So there's that dysregulation that happens within the melanocytes, and it takes time, a lot of times, for it to show up. So, it could be, as simple as just getting a good sunscreen on your face. That could be the solution to not only preventing that pigmentation, but also maintaining the quality of the skin. How do we support skin? So let's get to some solutions. So the very first solution is really hormone testing. So there was this really awful study that was done in the 80s, and that really messed it up for most of us women over decades now. So most women have been scared of hormone therapy because of that study linking hormone therapy to breast cancer, and now it's been debunked. It was a flawed study. And so it's very, very important to understand the difference between synthetic hormones and bioidentical hormones. And so if I was to give you one piece of advice outside of skincare, and I'll get to all the skincare and all that, is to get your hormone levels checked and talk to a practitioner that knows what they're doing, to help you, help know your hormonal status. So estrogen, again, is, if you lose an estrogen, there's no amount of moisturizer or serum that's going to help you. So it's like an uphill battle. So it's really important to start looking at those levels of estrogen, progesterone, DHEA. Actually, I take DHEA right now. I use a progesterone cream every single night. It's on my website as well. So I'll talk about it a little bit later, but talking to a practitioner is one of the best things that you can do. I have some links. I created the menopausal guide. So I will be sending an email to everybody that's attended the webinar with the link to that guide. And so that gives you links to like a recommendation of a place where you can get that hormone testing. And I'm always looking for other companies as well. I had my testing done last year, and that was one of the best things. Like, that really helped me resolve a lot of issues that I was experimenting or I was dealing with. Okay, so that's the first thing that I do encourage women to seek out, is actual professional advice from a hormone expert. And so the next one, this goes into some more gentle approaches to supporting your hormones. And, food is medicine. So there are a lot of estrogenic foods that can be super supportive of your health and your hormones. So first one, flax seeds are really high in omegas. And I cannot talk enough, you guys, about omega-3. We can't even make hormones without fat. And that's how detrimental like a fat-free diet is, or low-fat diet is. You cannot function properly without high quality fats. And so this comes into play, with the flax seeds being high in not only omega-3s, but also they help with your estrogen. They're estrogenic. There are plenty of plants that have estrogenic effects. So soybean is another estrogenic plant. Even avocados have estrogenic properties. So those are really good foods to start, kind of stepping up your intake of. Pumpkin seeds are phenomenal. They're high in zinc, and zinc supports our estrogen, supports our entire hormonal balance, but also collagen production. We don't talk about that enough. Sesame seeds, they have plenty of phytoestrogens. That's why I love the food hummus. Hummus is amazing because chickpeas are they have phytoestrogens as well as sesame seeds. So, hummus combines those two ingredients. And lastly, sunflower seeds. So those are all really easy to incorporate into your diet. I always put those on my salads or smoothies or whatever. They're super, super easy. Okay, so now how do we support skin at menopause? Through supplementation. So supplementation, it's, I'll say one thing here. The skin and basically the entire body is made up of protein, okay? And that protein, the majority of it is collagen. 70% of that protein is collagen. Our bones are made up of collagen, connective tissues, obviously skin. So the only part of the body that's not made of collagen, it's a different protein, it's the muscle, okay? So you want to try and support all those structures, like I said before. And so when you start taking collagen, you are supporting your skin, your ligaments, like you supporting that lubrication of the body. Your bones are not cracking. You also are supporting your gut health. So collagen will seal all those little holes where we get the toxins that leach into the body and create skin issues and such, and aging. So collagen, it's that simple. Obviously, the conversation with collagen is very nuanced. There are a lot of really bad collagen products out there, and there are some good ones. And so I do my very best to vet the right ones, and I place them on the Beauty Doctrine. So you have that one place where you can find all of these products. So yeah, collagen is going to support all those structures, and then to support the muscle, because that's another thing that happens with menopause, is that we get sarcopenia, we get muscle loss because we lose that testosterone. And so a good way to support muscle, and I've been doing this, I wish, I'm 47 now, I wish I had started at 40, but it's never too late when you find something out, and it's as long as you implement it into your life, then that's a good thing. And that is creatine. Creatine is phenomenal. And the more I research creatine, the more impressed I am with it. Like in our culture, it's more like, we thought of it as this thing that bodybuilders do. Absolutely not. They do it because it helps them support their muscle. But for us women, as those hormones decline, I always recommend, including that creatine into the diet on a daily basis. And it doesn't just help with the muscle, it helps with cognitive enhancement, which is something we start struggling with the decline of hormones. Because why? We have estrogen receptors. Now they're finding out all over our bodies. So you have estrogen receptors in your heart. And so it's not about just the reproductive system, it's about your entire health and vitality. Bone broth is another way to get that high quality collagen. Again, it's that lubricating type of protein. So it's an easy way to increase our collagen intake. Hyaluronic acid also becomes really important because, again, the body and the skin, they have much harder time, at perimenopause and menopause, to hold on to that hydration. So we want to optimize hydration as much as possible. And I say this very often, especially on live, aging is simple. Aging, especially skin aging. If you pay attention to three key things, you're not going to age as fast. And those three key things are hydration, moisture, and collagen, the proteins. So collagen is going to be that structure that holds the skin up. And then hydration fills your cells with water, so you stay nice and plump. And then moisture, helps with that elasticity, so the skin stays supple and elastic. If you get these three things right, and obviously, number one, with your diet, number two, with your supplements, you're good to go. I promise you, you'll start seeing some incredible results in your skin if you are addressing those, just the basics, the absolute foundational elements of good skin. And then you have the step up supplements. I didn't include a lot of them. I didn't want this presentation to be overwhelming. There are a lot of other supplements that are phenomenal that are like being talked about in the longevity circles, like NMN, RN. There are just a lot. Resveratrol. There are a lot of really amazing ones, and obviously I'm going to continue to talk about them in my lives, and I'm going to continue to create videos on YouTube talking about all of those supplements, because there's a lot to unpack. But I try to, for this presentation specifically, to just cover the basics that are geared towards that, the menopausal skin support. So MSM is a phenomenal one that will help promote collagen production and improve, again, that flexibility, and helps reduce inflammation. And then the last supplement that I have on the slide here is DIM. DIM, I tend to recommend very often, whether you have acne or, you're dealing with any type of hormonal issues. DIM is a phenomenal concentrate of cruciferous vegetables that help you detoxify excess estrogens and help you, get to that hormonal balance. And so that I found to be very, very supportive. Okay, now additional ingredients that you can do topically to support your skin. So aside from, a good TBD method routine, so like I alluded to earlier, the TBD method is only just 5 steps every day, 5 steps every night, no more than that. So that way we're reducing the amount of alcohols and preservatives that we're applying onto the skin. So in addition to that, These are some, and you can obviously find the TBD method of application on my website. It's, you know, a lot of detail there, but these are some ingredients that I really recommend incorporating. So balance cream, which you see on the slide here, I use it every single night. Actually, the best way to use it is, you know, if you're perimenopausal, you can use it for the first 2 weeks of, you know, your cycle. If you're menopausal, 25 days, and then you stop for 5 days. But it's phenomenal. It's a wild yams progesterone cream, so it really helps with that relaxation. It helps you with that hormonal balance. And then soybean oil is phenomenal, and you can find that in Estro Skin Support. So soybeans, if you find high quality soybean oil, of course it has to be organic. And so again, you'll find that in Estro Skin Support. It's also in the beautydoctrine.com. So that helps with that, you know, kind of maintaining that cell membrane integrity and skin elasticity. And lastly, peptides. Everybody knows about peptides. If you're into, you know, skincare or anti-aging, you've heard of peptides. And basically, they are just the building blocks of collagen. So if you can boost your skin, obviously, with a topical peptide, but what's most important than that topical peptide is if you consume those peptides internally. And I always keep going back to that protein and that collagen. If you consume that, if you're having a piece of steak, or, you know, salmon or sardines, you're consuming plenty of those peptides. And so I think of those topical ones in skincare as the cherry on top. So it's just kind of the finishing touch. And then the last thing I'll say is paying attention to those occlusives. So again, the skin thins out as we age. So even you can start off oily in your younger years, but as you age, that skin gets thinner and thinner with the loss of estrogen. So very important to trap that moisture onto the skin. And so when you apply your serums, use an occlusive at night or during the day. It's really just sunscreen. So like if you're looking at my skin, people always, you know, compliment me saying my skin is dewy. I'm like, my skin is not dewy at all. There is not a hint of like, you know, glow in my skin naturally. It's all just my sunscreen. So what you're looking at, it's not foundation, it's not powder, it's really just a high quality tinted sunscreen. And so, and zinc will act as that occlusive during the day. So it's going to trap that moisture in. So when you apply your serums following the TBD method of application, follow with that zinc sunscreen that's tinted, that's it. Your skin will look beautiful and glowy all day long. So yeah, so again, you know, I'm not going to go any deeper into the TBD method because I've alluded to it a few times, but you can find it on my website. So as far as tools, my very favorite, and you've been following me for a while, red light therapy is really the way to go as far as kind of a, you know, a tool that's not going to have major side effects. Like you really have to go out of your way to damage your skin with red light therapy. There's, you know, it's really the best. And you know, people know me, and that's the thing that I try to focus on so much is maximum results and with the minimal side effects. And so red light therapy is the answer for me when it comes to tools. And so that goes to literally the heart of the cell. It energizes your mitochondria, and mitochondria, those are the energy centers. So we are energetic beings. We're made of energy. Our cells, like your body functions optimally when you have a high amount of energy, or you're sluggish and you're sick and you're tired and you're aging if you have low energy. And so that's why you probably have heard of NAD. So everybody now is trying to boost those NAD levels. That's the energy in the body, but also mitochondrial energy through red light therapy topically. That's simple. If you have a good device, 5 minutes a day, you're good to go. And it's not about just, you know, energy, which the result of boosting that energy, you get, you know, better collagen production, better hair growth, and so on. But it also has anti-inflammatory effects. It helps, you know, with your enhance your skin tone, increase that hydration to the skin, increase blood circulation. So all of that, you know, brings all those nutrients to the surface of the skin and so much more. These are just a few of the benefits of red light. So that's pretty much it as far as my recommendations for like how to go about supporting your skin at menopause, whether it's through diet or, you know, hormonal testing or supplementation and topicals. Again, there's a lot more. If you go to the beautydoctrine.com, there is my menopause guide, and that's free. So you can go to that and you'll see a lot of these points in detail, and you'll see a lot of product recommendations as well. And this slide is really just about, like, it's a thank you to everybody that's attended. So I always try to have a thank you offer or discount code or something, because you guys have taken the time to join me on this presentation. So consultations, they're all 50% off, courses are 50% off, and there's obviously the mature bundle. So that would be the bundle that I would recommend to everybody that's looking to get started with a kind of menopausal routine, or just mature skin routine. And then Clean 15 will be active right after the presentation. So you can use Clean 15. It's just for today. It's always just the day of of the webinar. And then these will be sent on email as well. So everybody that's signed up, they'll get a confirmation email with that. So this slide is really just about how to become a TBD VIP insider. And so those are, our fans. Those are people that help support the research and all the work that we do. And obviously in exchange, you get 15% discount as long as you are a beauty insider. You get consultations with me every 90 days. So I work with you to ensure we're getting to your skin, we're addressing your concerns, and we're getting to your skin goals. You get samples. There are a bunch of, just freebies and things and perks that you get when you become a beauty insider. So you can check that out on thebeautydoctrine.com. Won't take any more of your time there. So if you're new and you want to know where you can find me, I am spending the majority of my time now on YouTube. So I'm creating educational videos consistently. They go up on Wednesdays and Saturdays on YouTube. And of course, you'll always find me on TikTok Live. And I'm on Instagram as well. And that's it for the presentation. All right, so what we'll do is we'll take any questions here. Okay, so first question, what is your opinion on estrogen, and are you familiar with the various types of estrogen products on the market, such as pills, patches, gels, creams, sprays, and estrogen that is applied vaginally? Would you recommend taking any of them? So this is a question that your practitioner would have to answer. So for me personally, I will, and when it's time for me, like, I've been studying all of this and looking into it and reading the science, and I know 100% I will consider these options as long as they're bio-identical hormones. And so yes, but you got to work with a very good practitioner that knows what they're doing to determine which one specifically is good for you. What diets or supplements are best for managing menopause symptoms? So the first ones that I would look at as far as symptoms, so when you say symptoms, so it's like, the heart palpitations and hot flashes and all those types of things. So it's really managing your blood sugar, first of all. So any stress on the body is perceived as, like, the body just starts reading too much into it, if you want to say that, because of the decline in hormones. We feel things super strongly. And so reducing sugar, going on more of a ketogenic diet, that can be super helpful. But adaptogens have been super helpful to me and to clients that I've helped. So like maca, there is a great hormonal blend that you'll find on thebeautydoctrine.com. So it's just called women's hormones. So it has black cohosh, maca. There are a bunch of adaptogens like ashwagandha. All of those can have amazing benefits. And of course, seeds. I mentioned a lot of those seeds, they can be very, very supportive. All right, next question. Does creatine cause hair loss? No, I have not seen anything that says creatine causes hair loss. However, every single supplement that we take, it doesn't matter. It's like too much vitamin A, can cause hair loss. Any excess of any molecule can cause you some type of negative reactions. So it's about moderation. And so this is when we see people fall into trouble, is when they hear of some trendy ingredient or something that's so good. I think in social media, especially now, there's so much exaggeration when you see all these like before and after, and people are giving you all these promises. And so you always have to look at the side effects of everything and make sure that you're not overdoing it. So with creatine, actually the general recommendation, like that most bodybuilders will kind of take, is about 20 grams. But the sweet spot now, and I've been following this because I care so much about like maintaining my muscle mass, it's 5 grams. So a lot of science is just, indicating 5 grams is your sweet spot every day. And so just don't overdo it. Don't do 20, 30, 40 grams. Just do 5 a day and you should be good. How do I bring back my natural glow? My skin is dull. And so yeah, so I see this so much with like dullness. Obviously, it happens because of a few things. So low fat intake internally, if you're using the wrong products. So there is what I call, there's moisturizing and there's the illusion of moisture. And so if you're using something like creme de la mer, for example, a lot of people think it's because it's, I don't know, hundreds of dollars that it's going to improve their skin. It's mineral oil. So if you're using a product or petrolatum based stuff like Vaseline and so many cheap moisturizers, and so it could be expensive like creme de la mer and it could be really cheap. And so you have to look at your ingredients. So if your major or main moisturizer that you're using has mineral oil or paraffin or petrolatum derivative, that's the illusion of moisture. You put it on, it feels really good, you're like, my skin looks glowing, and then you wash it off, it just goes down the drain. What you want to be doing is using good oils that are going to take you from point A to point B. You want products and ingredients that will moisturize your skin, that are going to absorb. And so the first step to products getting absorbed is actually not having a lot of dead skin. And so it's another thing. So aside from choosing the wrong moisturizer, most people do this, is have the wrong frequency of exfoliation. And so you see these recommendations by practitioners is you have to exfoliate every day. So there are a lot of cleansers that are exfoliating. There are toners that are exfoliating. You can just buy a regular serum that has exfoliation built in. So, you have to look at your ingredients and make sure your daily products don't have alpha hydroxy acids in them. And so what happens is like people are just over exfoliating. So you're over drying the skin. So you're always trying to play catch up. And so in that process, while you're over exfoliating, you're also taking away your natural lipids. And so that's how we end up with dull skin. And so it's about balance, right? And so the sweet spot for exfoliation is about once a week. And so I do it in a controlled way. So the products I use don't have exfoliants at all. And so if you go to beautydoctrine.com, you won't find like your regular everyday serum with alpha hydroxys. That's just not going to happen. Or a cleanser or the serum or whatever. There's like one cleanser and it says it. It's acid wash, and that I very methodically recommend it to my clients that absolutely need it. They're good candidates for that. But the ones I recommend for everyone, they're just free of exfoliants. So if you just do a gentle routine every single day and then have your exfoliation be controlled, so you have one go-to product that you use once a week to exfoliate. And so that could be a mask, it could be an overnight serum with alpha hydroxys, and that's it. So if you do that, now you've removed that layer of that skin that's sitting on the surface that could be blocking the absorption of your moisture. So that now that's removed. So then your skin can benefit from your skincare. So go to beautydoctrine.com and find the TBD method of application. It has a lot of recommendations for how to apply the right order of application. So it's mostly just serums that you apply, like a good mist, a couple serums and a sunscreen. And so they're very light, they're ultra concentrated, and they're free of all the known toxins and carcinogens and so on. And so they're going to go into the skin. So that's it. It's that simple. Once a week exfoliation, your daily skincare routine, it's 5 products and that's it. The last one, the 5th one, is always an inclusive. And so if it's at night, it's like a richer cream. If it's during the day, it's your sunscreen, and that's it. And that's how you're going to start getting that glow back. But you can get to that goal much faster when you focus on the inside. So getting good omega-3 fatty acid. I talk about this, and I know I should post more about diet. I wish I had all the time, but consuming high fat food, like good fat, you guys, and that's your salmon, your sardines, walnuts, seeds, like I was saying earlier, avocados, olive oil, all those things. You start consuming them regularly, you'll start seeing that from the inside, your skin will just start glowing. That's pretty much it. So don't over dry it with over exfoliation. Nourish it with moisturizers and ingredients that actually go into the skin versus just ones that act like a band-aid. And then moisturize and hydrate your skin from the inside out. And that's through your diet, and your skin will start glowing. How much creatine and what time of the day should we take? So I talked about how much earlier, and that's 5 grams. That's the perfect dose. And then what time of the day? So, it's been shown that creatine has a better uptake because it's supposed to support your muscles. So it's you get that better uptake with or on exercised muscle. And so the way that I do it, I often exercise in the morning. I put it in my coffee and I take it with me to the gym. And so I start drinking I'll start with weights. So maybe like 20 minutes into the workout, I start sipping on that coffee to give me kind of energy towards the end of the workout with that creatine. So that's how I like to take it. So take it towards the end of your workout or after your workout, or if you don't work out, that's still fine. Take it because it's going to support your muscle. But you asked about the optimal, and so the absolute optimal way to take or time for creatine is on exercise or after exercising your muscle. Okay, so next is, where does creatine come from? Actually, we have creatine naturally in our body, you guys. So that's a molecule that gets depleted, and it's an amino acid. What is the difference between NMN and NR? Okay, so NMN and NR both are precursors to NAD. So I alluded to NAD earlier. That's the energy in our body. So if if it depletes, we expire. So it's essential to us existing as humans. We have to have the NAD. And so the energy in the body declines with age. So it's just a matter of kind of continuing to boost it. We need to continue to create new NAD in the body. And so NMN is a direct precursor to NAD, okay? So it just takes one conversion. So if you take NMN, it's going to help you create NAD in your body. But if you take NR is a precursor to NMN. So it's just one additional step. So if you take NR, it creates NMN, which creates NAD. But if you take NMN, it just creates NAD directly. Both of them are great. I like to rotate the two. So I take a pack, like I'll finish my NMN 1 month and then I'll go to NR. Why? Because NR has been studied so much more. Let's say that. So there's so much research around it. It's been proven to boost those NMN levels and NAD levels. So NMN is kind of like newer on the market, although it still has promising research, but it's newer. And so that's why. So because the body is a mystery, right? So I personally like to do my research and then make the best decision based on what I find. And then I like to rotate. So you probably have heard me do that. I do it with everything. I rotate my serums, I rotate my cleansers, because I like to have different ingredients. And I rotate my supplements as well, because I don't have I can't look inside the body. Of course, I have a feel, I'm attuned to how things react, or how my body reacts to certain supplements and how I feel. But there are a lot of things that are, we just kind of do our best and wish for the best result. And so with that in mind, I try to rotate. So even though, NMN is the direct precursor to NAD, I still will rotate it with NR, just because there's just so much good research around that. So, okay, so those are all the questions that we have here on the presentation. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this presentation.